yesterday, Todd Monken continued to play his games where he wouldn't announce who the starter was going to be to the media because it's a tough life getting asked questions. We all know that. So he said he was going to tell the guys after practice, which I don't believe. I think they already knew. And then after practice, instead of, talking to the media again, Browns put out a press release. Is there practice today, by the way?
I think they're traveling.
They're traveling to Chicago.
Yeah,
which
what
is
a
why
shocker.
Zach isn't coming
so
back.
now he doesn't have to talk about it for a couple of days.
And you said we were crazy for suggesting he didn't want to talk about it. I mean, his actions clearly show you he's not too fond
I didn't
about
say it
wanting
was
to talk
crazy.
about
I said it was an embarrassing reason not to say something.
Okay.
Not necessarily that wasn't the reason. I wasn't necessarily disagreeing with you that being the reason, just that I thought it was a stupid reason.
Fair.
But anyway, the bottom line is more importantly that Deshaun Watson has been named the starter for the first preseason game, something I think we all kind of assumed now for a little bit. The press release also said that Shedeur Sanders would start the second preseason game against Buffalo.
Also worth mentioning, Monken said Deshaun's going to play the first half.
Yeah.
And Shedeur's going to play the third quarter in this preseason opener against Chicago. So we at least know for the first iteration of the quarterback battle in game situations, Deshaun for a half. Monken said he wants to see Deshaun get a 2-minute drill. Hopefully that's how the game plays out, and then Shedeur will play in the third quarter with whoever's left.
Can you put that tweet up again, Anthony? Because that was confusing to me. I want to read this again. Monken said he hopes to play the quarterback that starts on Saturday for the first half, with the other getting to play in the third quarter. Plan is to get the starters at least one series. So if he said he wants the quarterback to play a half?
Yeah. So Deshaun Watson's going to play a half, and the offensive line, the starters may play a series or two, and then he'll go behind the twos.
Oh, okay. That seems weird to me, but all right.
Usually that does seem a little off because usually, generally speaking, they usually keep the starting offensive line in
with the starting quarterback.
So
because you can't afford to lose your starting quarterback behind backup offensive line.
I was thinking, by the way, that I know the safe assumption is that Deshaun Watson is the preemptive starter. Like he's most likely going to be the starter in week 1 because of how this is being handled. And that's probably true, but I'll give you like a little bit of a conspiracy theory here. That maybe, if you want to have some faith that Shedeur Sanders is going to start week 1 of the season, that maybe he picked Shedeur Sanders to start game 2 because he's more likely to face a first-team defense in game 2 than in game 1. If I'm the Bears, I'm not playing my first-team defense more than one series, if at all, in the first preseason game. The second preseason game, you play more.
No, because you have a joint practice with them one day before.
I
think fewer starters on both sides are actually going to play in the game.
Generally, I'm right, but you are correct. That's true. I didn't think about that because they're doing the scrimmage, maybe the guys don't play. But they're only doing one scrimmage. A lot of times you do two scrimmages.
Yeah, they're just doing the one day of joint practice.
They're only doing joint practice.
Take you a day off, playing again.
I guess we'll see, but anyway.
Were you surprised that this ended up being Deshaun for the first preseason game and Shedeur for the second?
No. Well, I do believe, the thing about Deshaun Watson is he hasn't played in such a long time. I do think that there's a level of pressure at your first start being at home when it's kind of contentious a little bit. I do think that you start them on the road a little bit. Road games are a little strange because the energy is different. On the road, it's like everybody is really locked in. It's just you versus the world, kind of. And I think that's a better opportunity to start somebody on the road instead of at whatever the case may be in front of the home crowd. That's the minor part. The major part is I'm not surprised because I think that they want a good picture of exactly what he is off top. They want to know, right now, okay, you haven't played. You ain't seen these live bullets yet. Let's get you out on this football field, see what you can do right now. And I think people say, well, if he starts this game, he probably will be the starter for the year. I don't agree with that because I think that when you look at it, the thing we haven't seen Deshaun Watson do well is play against other people well. It isn't, generally speaking, that he is not good in practice. Sometimes we so far away from it that we got to remind people that, look, when he was playing last, it wasn't crazy.
It was not good. No, it was bad.
I have never seen him throw for 300 yards in a Browns jersey, which is crazy. I've seen one half against the Ravens, And that was pretty much it. So for me, it's almost like watching him as a new player. Watching him as a new player after the shoulder, after the 2 Achilles, and watching him with the processing. That's the thing with Deshaun Watson I'm looking for.
I think this decision to go Deshaun first, Shedeur second in terms of the first preseason game second, it makes perfect sense, and it's actually setting up both to give them their best performances in the preseason. We can argue whether or not the home crowd will, should, how loud.
Oh, they'll boo
their
him.
reaction to Deshaun
But if
Watson.
he can't handle that, he's never going to succeed anyway.
Fair. But if you're trying to still get an evaluation of these guys by putting him as the starting quarterback on the road, there will be fewer boos. And if there are boos, it's expected in a road game, right?
Yeah.
We could argue all we want about should the fans, whatever. But it's going to have an impact on Deshaun Watson if he steps out on the field for the first time in front of his home fans in a preseason game and is getting booed. How big of an impact? I have no idea. But it will have an impact.
Mike, don't you... He's going to play in front of the home crowd if he's the starter.
You're still trying to make the evaluation.
I know that, but shouldn't you make a proper evaluation? If you're saying it's going to affect him to get booed, well, then it's a bogus evaluation.
Then guess what? He's got the third one to do that too. And if he's going to play against Buffalo, and you can't. So my point is to see what you have in Deshaun still, to get the best version, you put him out there on the road at first, where he's the more veteran quarterback than Shedeur. He should be able to handle any crowd noise from an opposing fan base better than Shedeur based on the fact that he's played a lot more games.
This is the most insane thing you've ever said in the history of the show.
I think I'm being perfectly reasonable. And then Shedeur, by the way, who, once again, I've been out of practice, but everyone who's been out there says the word cadence is the new buzzword of the summer. That's part of the reason that Shedeur hasn't maybe passed Deshaun Watson in some of these hypothetical depth charts so far.
Yeah.
It's easier to get your calls in at home when you're not facing a road crowd. So this sets up Deshaun to give you his best version of Deshaun, whatever that may be, by starting him in Chicago. And then Shedeur starting at home gives you a chance to see his best version at home.
It's kind of tough, Boo, because I think about it like this. So say Deshaun Watson comes out, it's a mixed bag. You know, maybe they look okay, but, some sacks or, maybe an interception or some errant throws or whatever the case may be. You're like, oh, it was average. If Shedeur comes out at home against Buffalo and he throws a couple touchdown passes or they move up and down the field and he throwing the wrist up and all the crowd, by the way, at practice, they react to every throw Shedeur Sanders had. Right. Everybody. Yeah. So can you imagine that in the game? So now it puts you in a perspective of if the Browns were going into it thinking, you know what, we just going to do it. We're going to work with Deshaun. We're going to go with Deshaun. We just going to let it play out. It's going to be a problem because now it's the second, which you say, the person who goes second always has the momentum to rebuttal because you only remember what you just saw. Mm-hmm. So now if he cooks and they want to go and start Deshaun, then you start off with this thing that it's going to be an issue because people are going to say, well, hold on. I just seen Shedeur throw two touchdowns. He was cooking him. And so it puts them with more pressure.
That's if that happens
If that happens that way.
But we also know that they're not evaluating these guys based solely on what they do in preseason games.
I know that, but that's the risk you run because it's televised, because people see it. So like when you get apples to apple and one person played and it's like, okay, it was decent, but another person played and you felt like it was really good and people see it, it's going to put pressure on. They're going to say, well, how is it that he was 8 of 15 and this person was...
But ultimately that should be irrelevant. Coaches and GMs should not make any decisions based on fans' opinion.
Yes,
however,
that is true.
If they do, they're bad at their job.
And we can all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
But it plays a role, whether it's a small role, whether it's a medium role, whether it's a big role. It plays a role in this. It should not. I agree.
I don't think it will.
It does. The public perception of certain players, and especially if you're home. What's the most important position in all sports?
Quarterback.
Right?
Why would you're saying Todd Monken is going to be affected? His decision on who the quarterback's going to be affected by fan reaction?
No, I just think you're putting Deshaun in a very awkward position in the middle of a quarterback battle. If he goes out on the field,
don't you want to find out? You don't find out what a guy's really about until you put him in an awkward position.
More importantly,
but you're trying to. Sorry, okay. You're trying to wring whatever you can out of Deshaun, right? Like they've quit. If they were done with Deshaun, they would have cut him and moved on. Right? The fact that he's he's in a quarterback competition means they're trying to wring out whatever they can get from Deshaun. It might be one drop of liquid. It could be enough to fill a jug.
Babying him is not going to help you wring it something.
But he's here. If he, listen.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, Deshaun would be cutting off the roster. I agree with you in that sense.
Yeah.
But he's here. He's part of the competition. He is battling with Shedeur Sanders to be the starting quarterback in Week 1 for the Cleveland Browns. If he is in the conversation to be in that position, then you have to see what you have in him. And by starting him on the road as opposed to starting at home, you're getting a chance first because you still have a chance later to put him out in front of the home crowd to see what he can do in his first game action in front of an environment that is not your hometown bully.
I actually think in that scenario, if that happens, if Shedeur, be ready for it. This is just G. Bush, my theory. Ain't nobody told me. But if Shedeur comes out and he is demonstrably better in the second preseason game, I think that they'll bring Deshaun Watson right back in the third one and be like, yeah, we're going to give you another opportunity to rebuttal.
On the other hand, if Shedeur stinks in the preseason and Deshaun plays even decently, he might not play in game 3 and he's just going to be the starter.
Zach Jackson said that he thinks they'll name a starter after the Buffalo game.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying your theory's not.
To me, I do think it is even enough, because for what I've seen at practice, we talk about the cadence stuff. I said it on the other day. I said, listen, cadence is cool, but the receiver got to learn the lineup too. Like, it's just not the quarterback. Like, if you jumping off sides, they ain't got nothing to do with the quarterback. You jumped off sides, or you false started. Like, we got to get down. Obviously, the quarterback has a role to play in all that. But my thing is, when I'm watching the plays, I feel like Shedeur Sanders consistently makes bigger plays in practice. The big throws, the throws where you see like, okay, well, that was a crazy throw. The point I get is, that's not it with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, if he got the procedure down, awesome. But my question
still
is,
gotta make the throws.
What's more important, the pre-snap stuff where you get people into whatever the coach wants you to do, or the post-snap evaluation and processing to throw the ball to the right people? He's had way too many interceptions where I'm like, dang, bro, it's 3 people there. I can see if it was just coverage and they made him. But
got tipped.
Clearly, though, neither one has played well enough to win the job at this point. Otherwise, they would have named the starter.
Do you know what yesterday's announcement in the big picture told me? Because he told Cameron Wolf on NFL Network earlier he was going to start one game, the other.
Yeah.
Whoever gets the majority of the reps in the joint practice against Buffalo is the clear frontrunner to be named the starter. Because if they're each getting a start, and Monken said after the joint practices, we're not 100% sure if we're going to play the starters against Buffalo, how are you getting an apples-to-apples evaluation from one game to the next? I think whoever is the guy at the quarterback position getting the majority of the reps in the joint practice against Buffalo will be far more telling than anything we see in the preseason
Probably.
games.
I just believe that one of the things that we got to see is
and I don't know who it'll be.
These games should count. Like, I get that you may have a preconceived notion, but if Deshaun Watson plays well, you got to count them reps. Mm-hmm. If Shedeur Sanders is making throws, you got to count them reps. The thing I don't want a predetermined notion, right? You can have somebody going into it, but I do believe that the way it's set up, that it's going to be a very difficult conversation that if Shedeur Sanders outplays Deshaun Watson in the game against Buffalo, that it's going to be a very difficult conversation to have and say, well, all right, we know like he played better, but here's the reason why we want Deshaun Watson, because he gets us lined up. I mean, that's going to be a tough conversation.
I don't think he would say that. I mean, he's just going to name the starter. He's not going to make a reason for it.
He's going to get asked.
He's going.
Well, but that's a hypothetical if Shedeur plays better. I mean, yeah, if Shedeur plays better, then certainly there'll be questions. But ultimately, Todd Monken's going to make the decision, I assume, that he thinks is best for the team. And it's not just going to be who plays better in one preseason game, because that's just a small part of the whole process, apparently. Most of the evaluation we're not seeing.
So to me, the evaluation that I look for, and that's Todd Monken's decision. He's going to make it. Yeah. At the end of the day, he's going to have to stand on that. Look, he's the coach. He puts whoever is going to be on the field, but he has to stand by that decision. So if he gets it right, kudos, dap up. You did your thing. If he gets it wrong, then that's on your CD. You got, you take what it is, and only time will tell. But I do think I'm excited to see if Deshaun Watson is the same Watson we saw before, or what this new version looks like against Chicago.
I mean, does anybody have any faith he's going to play well in a game? I have zero faith he's going to play well in a game.
He could.
A game, maybe, over the course of a season.
Consistently.
That's where I have my biggest gripe with Deshaun. It hasn't been, even in practice, Zach came back and had to say he had 2 great practices back-to-back, and it's like, well, I have to see it 5 times before I believe it. You said even more than 5. You believe the trend was continuing. To me, it's a joke if Deshaun Watson starts the season. I've said that consistently, but it's also an indictment in my mind on Shedeur Sanders that they don't think he's good, because if you're the coach and you think Shedeur Sanders has any chance of being good, there's just no reason to play Deshaun Watson. So, and it doesn't mean he's right, but if they don't start Shedeur Sanders, to me, that means Todd Monken does not have any faith in Shedeur. And he can say whatever he wants. I will not believe anything he says. I agree with you.
If Shedeur Sanders is not starting week 1, unless it's because of injury, of course, then that tells me Todd Monken has no faith in him, because starting Deshaun Watson over him makes no sense unless you just don't think Shedeur can play.
And this is the gambit. So if you're saying that, but people have a perception of, I just saw it on the football field and it really happened in real life, then you're going to have to say something. Because here's the thing, we can talk about all the time. We understand practice is not the game.
No, and I've said consistently that I don't care when guys play well in practice, because that's what it should be.
You should look great in 7-on-7. Yeah. You should look awesome against air on the goal line. But it's more of a difficult sell if you're going to tell people, especially the people who went to practice and saw the inconsistencies, that, hey, trust me, I think there's something in there. You're like, okay, well, we didn't see it in practice, and we just didn't see it in the game.
I agree. I mean, if in the preseason games, if Shedeur plays even decently and Deshaun stinks, or if Shedeur plays great and Deshaun's mediocre, like if it's clear Shedeur plays better in the preseason and they don't start Shedeur, it doesn't make any sense. On the other hand, if they're both about the same,
then he could say, you can parse it. If they're both about the same, you can say, well, look, I just feel, then he'll go to, I think Deshaun gives us the best chance to win. Well, that's you know what it is. That's the thing that most coaches go to. It's the reason that you say, well, I'm going to play Kirk Cousins over Mendoza because I feel Kirk at this point gives us a better opportunity. But then again, we saw what that happened with Joe Flacco, because chances are in a couple of weeks you'll make a decision.
That's right.
Monken was asked yesterday about one of the factors that's going to go into this quarterback decision was just the consistency in moving the football. And if the internet here would work, I'd read you the quote, but I can't. But basically he said, it's one of the factors. It's not the only, but we want to consistently be ahead of the chains. We want to consistently move the ball. We're not necessarily looking for a home run play every third time, but we can't be in disadvantageous situations, be behind the chains, have negative plays consistently to where we won't be able to overcome them as an offense. And that's where I think, back to the cadence part of it, if Todd Monken and the staff believe there is that much of a difference between Deshaun and Shedeur, and I have no idea, like, that's something way out of my realm of knowledge. That could be the tiebreaker scenario if they both play in similar fashion throughout the preseason.
In general, I'll just say this. Hey, here goes the scrimmages. Let me see it. I'm trying to see. I'm tired about this. I just want to see actual plays against another person trying to make a living. Let's get it going.
We're, 48, 56 hours away from finally seeing a preseason. What time is the game on Saturday? I don't remember.
1 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
On NFL Network.
About 50 hours or so.
It's Friday. Are we going to do who's going to, what is Deshaun about to do? How many yards?
Yeah.
We're going to get that? Okay.
We'll do some realistic expectations for all the key guys who we think will play on Saturday.
I mean, we don't know how long they're going to play for. It's going to be hard to.
It'll be more just what are your expectations.
I thought it was interesting. I don't know if interesting is the word, but he said that Shedeur would play the third quarter. He didn't say the second half, so I wonder if they're going to play Dylan Gabriel or
they're definitely
Green a little bit.
They're definitely getting snaps.